what I'll be talking about, I'll be delving a little deeper into the RDSS and the smart meter deployment, our experience as 꽌ᴏ, how has that been in the journey, and of course, then what could be the potential opportunities or use cases which can ease out the smart meter deployment in the country, as well as the things that we as 꽌ᴏ are looking to work on. So let's start with the larger picture, the bigger scheme of things. Of course, India announced the Panchamrit goals during the COP26, out of which is a very ambitious goal and ambitious targets that we've taken for ourselves as a country to reach 500 gigawatt of non-fossil energy capacity by 2030. 50% of the energy requirements to come from the renewable energy again by 2030, and the reduction of total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons from now to 2030. Reduction of carbon intensity of the economy by 45% by 2030 over the 2005 levels as a baseline, and finally achieving the net zero emissions by 2070. These are the broad goals. I think everyone in the industry would be aware of these targets and the goals that the government has taken. Among them, there are multiple development pathways that have been developed to move towards the net zero goal. The fundamental and the most important thing that influences and addresses our industry is the first one mentioned here, which is the low carbon development of electricity systems consistent with development. I'll not deep dive into the other areas, but these are other pathways that the government explores. And here comes the role for RDSS, where in the larger scheme of things, the revamped distribution sector scheme. It's a central scheme launched in 2021 to transform India's power distribution infrastructure, with the aim to reduce the AT&C losses, which is from close to around 12 to 15%, which is hovering somewhere around 22% as on today. Reduce the ACS, average cost of supply, to average revenue realized gap to zero, and then of course ensure financial sustainability of DISCOMs by ensuring quality and reliability of supply. The total budget outlay of close to around 3 lakh crores and the central government support of around 97,000 crores. And I think we are all aware of the RDSS scheme, how it functions. There are MISPs who bid for the different utilities of the state tenders on a DB foot model: design, build, finance, own, operate, and transfer, and then the monthly service charges are given by the DISCOMs. This is a broad overview of the RDSS. How does it look like? Now, if we look at how it is progressing, the scheme is progressing, and where does 꽌ᴏ fit into this whole scheme of things? So the left-hand chart shows that close to around 203 out of the 250 million targets, close to around 203 millions have been sanctioned. Around 127 million is awarded to various MISPs across various states, and close to around 36.54 million are communicating. The installed numbers would be slightly higher. How we are featuring there, 꽌ᴏ current market share of deployment in the last quarter is close to around 20%, and of course 35% in the areas where the projects are currently running. There are certain areas, certain states where we are not running, where we are not participating. Of course, we intend to do that in the future, but right now we are close to around 20%, contributing close to around 20% of the smart meter scheme from a deployment point of view. At a national level, of course, AT&C losses have declined from 22% to 16% from FY21 to 25. The annual losses have to the tune of 365 billion rupees were avoided, and the ACS gap has reduced from ACS-ACR gap has reduced from 70 paise per kilowatt hour to close to around 19 paise, which kind of indicates us to an avoidance of around 68 million tons of CO2 emissions. So that's the sustainability impact of this entire deployment which has happened so far. Now, coming to how the RDS and the smart meter deployment benefits the entire ecosystem, and what are the advantages that they bring to the table. The first and foremost use case that is there is the accurate billing through the smart meter deployment. Of course, there's a lot of we hear a lot of consumer resistance and a lot of myths floating around smart meters being running fast or inaccurate billing, which is coming. But those are mostly myths around that. And of course, we are working actively to engage with the customers, with the consumers, to address those myths in the right time. But the more and more smart meters get deployed, this becomes a common phenomenon. I think the myths will also start to start to go down. I mean, and will be replaced by facts and realities. So Kimball smart meters currently are enabling accurate and remote billing for close to around 4 million customers across the country. That's one of the thing, and that is of course one of the major levers for the AT&C loss reduction target that we have. Then time of day tariff, that is an important lever. Again, most of the utilities are contemplating or have already rolled out the TOD tariff for demand management. Kimball meters are enabling TOD tariff in and close to around 60 to 70% of the installed base. That's something which is extremely good lever for the demand management so that the consumers are made aware that okay, yeah, how do you consume and optimize your usage during the peak and the non-peak hours of consumption. And that's something that is being enabled by our smart meters also. And remote disconnection and reconnection, that's again a prominent feature in a lot of states where that improves the collection efficiency of the discoms and of course the working capital flow, which contributes towards the overall AT&C losses reduction as well. Case studies in the lower half of the slides, where in Assam and J&K, they are the major states of deployment that we are present there. We see the AT&C losses coming down from 2021 to 2023 or 23-24 fiscal year from 26% to around 16% in Assam, and likewise from around 59 to 60% to around 44% in J&K. Those are significant. Again, the numbers are nowhere close to the targets that the government has set, but there are significant improvements that we have contributed towards, of course. And as you can see in the table below, how we have, because J&K and Assam are the states where major deployments of Kimball meters have been done. Now, coming to the RE part, again, the renewable energy, that's an important element of our net zero, of our Panchamrit, of our net zero targets. And the government has set an ambition of around 500 gigawatt of RE capacity by 2030. Currently, we are somewhere in the range of 254. That's the RE capacity that we have out of the total 510 gigawatt of capacity that is being installed, in the country today. Now, in that, solar constitutes close to around 133, which is around 50%. And of course, a lot of this is off-grid as well. And that is where enabling the smart meters with net metering feature, wherein the consumers can become prosumers, where they produce off-grid and the distributed energy resources, which are an important part of the RE plan that the government has. How do we enable these consumers to become prosumers and have the import as well as the export energy? And of course, there are multiple incentive plans that the government also plans to give out in the 괘ᴏᴡᴇʀ Yojana and all. So the net metering, where you can accurately measure the import as well as the export energy that the consumer is taking from the grid and pushing back to the grid, is something which is extremely critical to drive those incentive plans as well. And hence, this is an important thing that we have, and as we can see, the impact. So close to around, if you can see in total, and this is by the way a very sample number. I mean, of some of the sample projects that we've been running, and this is as on June 25. As we speak, the numbers would be much higher, but close to around 14 to 15 million kilowatt hours of total energy which has been exported to the grid through Kimball meters. That's the numbers that we are seeing. And of course, we have in these three states, we have close to around 50K meters which are enabled for net metering. So that's the impact that we are trying to create in the smart meter deployment and the integration of renewable energy back with the grid, which is an important element to drive the clean energy drive. Now, coming to the consumer side of it, so in general, the consumers of India are evolving, are becoming more and more aware about the sustainability elements, about and about the environment at large, and that's something that we hear in our day-to-day conversations. But at the same time, there are some survey results which indicate towards the same. So there was a People and Planet Consumer Insights and Trends survey in 2025, which indicated that close to around 40% of the people, and which is the highest, by the way, indicated that reducing home energy is one of their clear priorities. And that indicates that the consumer preferences are also evolving. They also want real-time monitoring and also advisory on how they can optimize the energy usage in their homes. And that's where some of the interesting use cases come in. And we are, of course, as Kimball, we are actively working towards each of these three use cases. So the first one is non-intrusive load monitoring, which is driving the home energy usage optimization through consumption monitoring and advisory. Later on, at the next phase, could be integration with the smart homes, where you can actually not just monitor but also control the appliances and control the on and off of appliances so that the energy is rightly optimized. That's something that we are working on. Consumer mobile app, which doesn't necessarily just give you the consumption details, but also gives you advisory on how you can optimize. Because I talked about the time of day tariff, that's something which is extremely critical for the consumers, aware consumers, how they can optimize their energy usage, should they switch on or switch off their appliances so that their bills are actually coming on the lower side. And consumer confidence, I touched upon this topic earlier as well. As smart meters get deployed en masse, I think the myths around smart meters can be allayed, and that's something that again we are working very closely in most of the states where we are working. We are trying to give that confidence that the billing is very accurate and through the smart meters, and it doesn't necessarily increase after the meter deployment or the smart meter deployment. So that's something again we are working very closely with the state governments there. And I think the last one from my side, there are multiple use cases of AI, of technology that can be leveraged for the smart meter deployment. Of course, one of the things that we worked on and we are really proud of is a made in India RF communication solution, which we've named as 괜ʀᴏ. It's for smart metering and AMI applications, delivering ultra-fast convergence and seamless network optimization. That's something which we've started to deploy in our projects as well. Energy management solutions, which is more on the power case use case for CNI customers, which is AI-based algorithms to enable power procurement strategies for CNI customers so that they can leverage the best tariff available and thus optimize their power consumption. Again, we've done some pilot trials, and we are looking very positively on developing this use case. And we are also looking very positively on the power quality aspect, again, to leverage the AI and ML to monitor the harmonics in the grid. And finally, on the accurate billing and consumer indexing part, which is an important element that you need to know the location, right location of the consumer where they are placed. That's a major challenge when if you talk to any of the MISPs or people in the smart meter space, consumer indexing is a big concern as of today. So through optical character reading, and there are multiple other features there where we can accurately capture the locations and the coordinates of the consumers when the consumer indexing is happening. That's again something that we are working on. And the right side is just a footprint that we have where we are present, where we are deploying smart meters across the country. Madhya Pradesh, of course, is shown right here, but it's a recent addition to the list where we have also started to work in Madhya Pradesh very actively. So yeah, this was it from my side. Of course, I look forward to having engaging conversations after the presentations are done, and of course look forward to the presentations from other panelists, and then we can have an engaging conversation around that. Thank you.